All right, today we're going to dive into some really fascinating research that tackles one of the biggest annoyances of modern life: our slow, congested mobile networks. It's all about a brilliant solution to a problem I guarantee every single one of us has faced. Oh, you know that feeling, right? You're at the most intense part of a movie or you're trying to watch a super important clip, and bam, you're just stuck staring at that spinning wheel of death? It is beyond frustrating, and it turns out there's a very clear reason it keeps happening. You see, the heart of the problem is something we can think of as a data tsunami. I mean, the sheer amount of information we're all trying to pull through our wireless networks at any given moment is just staggering. It's growing at a pace that's almost impossible to keep up with. And look, this isn't just a hunch or a guess. We have cold, hard data to back this up. The researchers behind this point to the Ericsson Mobility Report, and it paints an incredibly vivid picture of this explosion in data use. So let's set a baseline. If we go back to the third quarter of 2018, the entire world was using about 22 exabytes of mobile data every single month. Now, that's already a mind-boggling number, but believe it or not, that's just our starting point. Okay, now let's jump forward just 6 years to 2024. That number? It hasn't just grown, it has absolutely skyrocketed to over 157 exabytes a month. We're talking about a seven-fold increase. Our appetite for data is just insatiable, and it's putting a crushing amount of pressure on our network infrastructure. So where is all this demand coming from? What's eating all that data? Well, here's your answer. A whopping 75% of all of it is video. And video is a beast. It's especially tough on networks because it needs a ton of bandwidth, and it needs it constantly. All that streaming, all those video calls, it all adds up to be the #1 cause of strain on our cell networks. So, faced with this massive data tsunami, researchers started asking, isn't there a smarter way to handle all this traffic? And that question brings us to a really clever solution they came up with called auxiliary caching. This right here is probably the best way to understand the whole concept. Think about it. Normally, when your phone needs a video file, it's like you have to get in your car and drive all the way across town to a giant central warehouse. That's the cell tower. This new idea, which uses something called device-to-device, or D2D, is way more like just walking next door and borrowing a cup of sugar from your neighbor. It's closer, it's faster, and it's way, way more efficient. So here's the secret sauce. The auxiliary caching strategy is all about being proactive. Instead of waiting for you to ask, your phone and the phones around you can actually predict and preload popular content, like that viral video everyone's watching. So when you decide you want to see it, you don't have to make that long trip to the warehouse. You can just grab it from your own phone storage or borrow it from a neighbor phone that's literally feet away. So how does this actually play out in the real world? Well, this strategy basically gives your phone two brand new tricks up its sleeve to get you the content you want way faster than the old way. Okay, so the first trick is called self-offloading. This is the absolute best case scenario. It means the file you want is already stored or cached right on your own device. Access is basically instantaneous. Then you've got D2D offloading. This time, the file isn't on your phone, but the system is smart enough to find it on someone else's phone nearby. It then creates a direct, super fast link between your two phones to zap the file over. In both cases, you get to skip that long, slow trip to the main cell tower. This slide really breaks down the new, smarter logic. When you hit play on a video, your phone doesn't just immediately dial up the cell tower anymore. First, it does a quick check of itself. Hey, do I already have this? If the answer is no, it moves to step 2. It scans the area and asks, okay, does anyone near me have this? And only if both of those fail, only as a last resort, does it fall back to the old school, slower method of asking the main base station. Now, this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But the billion-dollar question is, does it actually work in practice? The researchers had to prove it, and to do that, they turned to some seriously sophisticated modeling. So since they couldn't just go out and rebuild an entire city's cellular network, they did the next best thing. They used some really advanced mathematical tools. We're talking stochastic geometry and Markov chains to build an incredibly accurate virtual city. They then filled this digital city with thousands of virtual smartphone users, all requesting, sharing, and streaming data just like we do. Okay, so let's dig into the results. What did they find? This first chart shows what's called the mean queue length. You can just think of that as your phone's data to-do list. The higher the line goes, the more clogged up and congested your phone is. See those different colored lines? They show what happens when files are more or less popular. Now just look at that blue line, the one that's basically flat along the bottom. That shows what happens when a ton of people want the same popular video. Because that file is so easy to find locally, either on your phone or neighbors, that to-do list stays incredibly short. There's no data traffic jam. So why do we care about a short to-do list? Because it prevents this from happening, your data getting dropped. This graph shows something called packet loss. The best way to think about it is when your phone's to-do list gets way too long, it starts panicking and dropping little pieces, or packets, of the file you want just to keep up. That's what causes buffering. But look at the blue line for popular content again. It is flat at 0. The chance of losing data is practically non-existent. The delivery is smooth and seamless. And here it is, the grand finale, the big payoff. This graph compares the average delay, how long it takes to get your file, for 3 different approaches. That top line is the old way, getting everything from the base station. The middle line is a strategy that only uses the neighbor-to-neighbor DDD sharing. But that bottom line, that's our auxiliary caching strategy, the one that combines everything. And it is, without a doubt, significantly faster than the others. It slashes the delay and gets you your content so much quicker. So we've seen the theory, we've seen the proof. Let's bring it all home and talk about what this really means for you, me, and the phone in your pocket. The takeaway here is pretty simple, and it's all good news. For us as users, it means faster downloads and way smoother streaming. It means a lot less of that hated buffering and fewer annoying interruptions. But it's actually bigger than that. By taking so much pressure off the main cell towers, this strategy makes the entire network more efficient, more stable, and more reliable for absolutely everyone. And it's so important to realize this isn't just some abstract idea from a lab. No, this is the kind of foundational research that's making next-generation tech like 5G a reality. It's paving the way for the super-fast, ultra-low latency networks that things like augmented reality and self-driving cars are going to need. It's a real shift towards a smarter, more cooperative network. And that really leaves you with a pretty cool question to chew on, doesn't it? If we can get our phones to work together to share data this efficiently, what other massive problems could we solve if our devices started cooperating in new and intelligent ways? You know, the possibilities there are really, really exciting. Thanks so much for tuning in.